Okay, DW Gaming here with the developer update for January 2024. They've released their new changes to the game. It will probably be on the PTB either Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and it'll go live toward the end of January. So let's go through it here. It's got some major changes. Not all of them good. So first things first, they have the generator nerf. So kicking things off, no pun intended, ha ha ha, yeah. We have a few updates to generators. More specifically, these changes target how generators are damaged by the killer and how their regression can be stopped by survivors. The goal with this update is to bring an end to excessively long matches, 3-gen scenarios in particular, and at the same time improve the killer's ability to damage generators. Yeah, we'll see. 3-gen scenarios are those where the killer aims to defend 3 generators that are close by in particular and does not participate in normal gameplay. Okay, right off the bat, that's a falsehood. You have some killers who, at the outset of the match, will stay in a specific area because they know it's a strong area to defend and won't chase survivors. That, to me, right there is a losing style of gameplay. I've tried it before. It's never really gone well. But sometimes when generators are flying, it's not a matter of not participating in normal gameplay. It's a matter of trying to keep the match from spiraling out of control. So this right here, this sentence is problematic right off the bat. I'm not surprised. It is written by Peanuts, very notorious developer who's very survivor-sided, obviously. So it does not participate in not chasing survivors. Yeah. In this instance, survivors are not able to make any meaningful progress to those generators. That's another lie right there. It's another falsehood. I've played matches where I've been 3-gen'd as survivor. And the killer regression to survivor progression, if you have all 4 survivors still in the match at that point, they can finish one of those 3 gens. It's not a situation where they can't make any meaningful progress to those generators. That is absolutely false. Once again, these guys don't play their own game. They don't play their own game, at least at a high level. Even if you just have 3 survivors left, you have 1 on each gen. The killer cannot, no matter how close they are, the killer cannot reasonably defend those generators. So I don't know what he's talking about here. This is ridiculous. We really need new developers in this game. Someone a little more grounded in reality. Someone who actually plays the game. So going forward, each generator can only suffer from a maximum of 8 regression events. Okay, this is not good. Where a regression event is any time the killer or their perks removes at least 2.5% of the generator's progress in an instant. An indicator will show the killer if a generator can no longer be damaged. In the overwhelming majority of games, this will not come into play. Really? And have you played the overwhelming majority of games to be able to say this? Is what I would ask. I'm willing to bet you have not. However, in scenarios where the killer is defending a set of generators and refusing to chase survivors, there will eventually come a point where they can no longer damage the generator, helping bring an end to excessively long matches. So any regression event, so any perk, I'm assuming it's anything like pain resonance, surge, anything that maybe even ruin. if, let's say the killer has ruin at the start of the match. Survivors know that the killer has ruin because they got off a gen. Would that count as a regression event? Would it be to where a survivor gets off a generator 8 times, all of a sudden that generator is no longer affected by ruin? That would be ridiculous. I am so I don't know why, but I keep getting amazed by more and more by the stupidity of these developers. The killer can only regress a generator 8 times now. I mean, yeah, 8 is a lot, but still, as I said, what if the killer has ruin? And survivors are going to be like, well, let's just, work on this gen, get off, work on the gen, and then get off. And they do it 8 times. That gen can no longer be affected by ruin, apparently. Yeah. This guy. At the same time, we want to address a point of frustration for killers as well. Survivors working on a generator briefly to stop it from regressing, or gen tapping for short. Oh, so they're getting rid of gen tapping? That's good. Given that the number of regression events is now limited, stopping a generator from regressing is more meaningful than ever. Okay. What about stopping a generator from progressing? That should be more meaningful than ever because killers can only do it 8 times now for each gen, right? To prevent survivors from tapping a generator to negate one of those regression events, we've made 2 changes. Base damage from kicking generator has been increased to 5%. Big deal. So 5% of 90 seconds. 10% of 90 seconds is 9. So cut that in half. 4.5 seconds. That's pretty much nothing. At least 5% of the generator's total charges must be repaired to stop regression. Otherwise, they'll begin regressing again when the survivor stops repairing. Okay, well, that's only useful in a chase, though. If the survivor spots the killer kicks the gen, and the survivor is in the chase, can just tap the gen mid-chase to prevent regressing, they can no longer do that. I mean, that's fine. But as I said, when the match begins, if the survivors find out the killer has ruin, they let go of the gen. Killer's nowhere in the area. They can easily get back the 5% of the lost regression. And they just need to do that 7 more times, and that gen can't be regressed anymore. And this is at the beginning of the match. So that is, yeah, that's kind of pointless. It only helps in chases. Let's see. This will help ensure the killer always gets some value for kicking a generator. Encourage survivors to think twice before. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, always get some value. Sure. It's 5%. If they increase it to 10 or maybe even 15, then it would be valuable. Right now, it's not. So this is a huge nerf to killers. And a very large nerf to killer perks that deal with any kind of gen regression. Yeah, they don't need this. They really do not need this. I would excise this completely from the update. They already have a perk which lets them see what generators are closest to each other. And they get a repair speed bonus from that perk. They don't need this. Yeah. FOV setting. Is Shadowborn permanently locked into one of your perk slots? No. Well, that's about to change thanks to the new first-person field of view slider. Starting with this update, killers in first person, good, so it doesn't affect survivors. They don't need any increased field of view. They already have a tremendous amount of a field of view. Gives them a very big advantage. So killers in the first person will be able to adjust their FOV to something they're more comfortable with. So it's basically base kit Shadowborn, which is fine. I don't think it'll affect gameplay all that much. I don't use Shadowborn. Yeah, it'll be nice to have it as base. There are areas where Shadowborn would have helped in certain instances in matches I played, so we'll see how that goes. Shadowborn monitor abuse will need to be adjusted, obviously. Will not affect survivors. Good. We don't need to be giving survivors anything more. The Onryo, they are reworking the Onryo again. Kind of tells you something, guys, when you revisit a killer in such a short amount of time. And then maybe you should be rethinking the killer completely. A few months ago, we released a major update to the Onryo. Though some players were pleased with the changes, many longtime Onryo mains felt that her gameplay had changed too much from the killer they once loved. In this update, we want to revisit Sadako once more, find a middle ground which better appeals to all her players, old and new. Okay. Condemned. In the last update, Condemned was spread to all survivors who were not holding a tape whenever Sadako projected to a TV. This allowed her to spread her curse more often, but many felt that this favored teleporting as soon as possible rather than strategically during a chase. You can't really teleport strategically during a chase. You can see if they're heading toward a television and try to cut them off. But the problem is she makes such a loud noise when she goes through her teleport that the survivor is going to be alerted almost immediately that she's going to the TV you are running to. So they'll double back on themselves. It's not really used during chases. It was used to spread Condemned, which was the only thing she had going for her. So there's nonsense about strategically using it during a chase. I've played many Onryo matches, and as I said, anytime I tried to cut survivors off by going to a TV, they would just go back on themselves because her notification of teleporting is so obnoxiously loud. They really would have to be playing without headphones in order to be caught off guard. We have made a few changes. Okay. When the Onryo teleports, survivors within 16 meters of a powered TV will receive a stack of Condemned. So they put her back to... They basically made her the way she was before the map-wide teleport. This is a huge nerf to her. The map-wide teleport was good because it made survivors actually grab tapes and put them into TVs. So this is already a weaker version of what she currently is. Teleport cooldown's been removed. Okay, fine. That's the way she was before her rework, which honestly I think was much weaker. When a survivor is hooked, their current Condemned progress becomes locked in, preventing it from being removed. Okay, that's good. That'll help her. But still, survivors have to be close to TVs now in order for them to be Condemned. But that's a concession at least. This will make it very risky for survivors to ignore Sadako's curse. Not really. Survivors will want to shut off nearby TVs and deposit their tapes before it's too late. They've also changed the way tapes work. Curse tapes no longer protect survivors from gaining condemned. Well, yeah, that would have to be... They would have to make that change since she only can condemn survivors within 16 meters of a powered television now. So, yeah, that would have to go. Curse tapes are no longer destroyed or inflict condemned when survivors hit. So it's like she was before the rework. Curse tapes can only be deposited in the furthest TV from where they were picked up. So she's like Freddy, where you can only use the alarm clock that's furthest away from you. So she's basically like a worse version of Freddy. Yeah, because Freddy at least has some anti-loop. It's not great, but he has some kind of anti-loop. She has none. So this is reverting her back to the way she was, and the way she was miserable because she had more difficulty spreading condemned, and she had no anti-loop, and she still has no anti-loop. So you're not rewarded for chasing with her. Yeah, this is a huge nerf to Onryo. I don't see how she's viable. She's barely viable with the new changes now. I don't see how she's viable. I mean, people were complaining about how OP she was with the new rework. It's like, I played a match recently where all the survivors, it was a Swift, obviously, and all of them grabbed tapes. You do realize that completely nullifies her condemned ability. And they knew exactly where to run on the map to make chases as long as possible with her. So there was no way I was going to be able to smack tapes out of their hands in any efficient manner to actually be able to use her condemned. But now, so she definitely wasn't overpowered, but now she's even worse because you cannot spread condemned map wide. So she's like the way she was and still has no anti-loop. She's still an M1 killer with nothing going for her. Demanifested. The previous update made it so the Onryo couldn't start a chase while demanifested. So they made it so you can chase survivors while demanifested. Big deal. You can't be stunned by a pallet, but you still have to break it. Windows will lock up now while demanifested, but there's no speed boost when you're in demanifested mode, like with Wraith. So what's the point? You still have to break pallets. There's no obvious advantage to being demanifested. There's no speed increase. There's no action increase to breaking pallets or vaulting windows or anything. This really changes nothing. Additionally, May have pointed out that the Onryo's change add-ons, Reiko's Watch, was very fun to use. Rather than add the effect back into the add-on, we instead incorporated it into her base kit to make the add-on feel less essential. The duration of invisibility while demanifested has been increased to 1.2 seconds. Big deal. Oh, a whole 0.2 seconds. You can still hear her coming from a mile away. If you use the visual terror radius, it will let you know exactly when she's coming. I think more add-ons should be base, but this is kind of meaningless as well. It's really sad. Onryo has never been a great killer. Now she's going back to a worse version of herself. With all these changes in mind, we reviewed a handful of the Onryo's add-ons, which either no longer have a purpose or promote strongly disliked playstyles. Yeah, okay. We'll have to see what that is because they don't tell us for some reason. The Hillbilly. I've been having a lot of fun with Hillbilly lately. The first two changes I would make to him right off the bat is to decrease the sound of his chainsaw. It's very loud. And to also make his ability like huntresses or tricksters, where you can hold the chainsaw while it's revving. You can hold that revving progress. You don't have to keep spamming M2. And to do a chainsaw sprint, you press M1. That would make things a lot easier on the hands and on the ears. Let's see if they've done any of that. Probably not, because honestly, these developers aren't that clever. Overdrive. The controversial overheat mechanic is no more. Well, yeah, that was stupid. Overheat was pointless. Overdrive is the new talk of the town. As a hillbilly uses his chainsaw, it will generate heat just like before. When the heat meter is full, not only will he continue being able to use it, but his chainsaw will kick into overdrive and gain the following effects for the next 20 seconds. Chainsaw charge speed is increased by 5%. Chainsaw sprint movement speed is increased to 13 meters per second. Chainsaw sprint cooldowns are reduced by 10%. Short version, heat is good now. Okay. As pointless as the overheat mechanic is, it really didn't affect me all that much, because the only time overheat would come into play is if you used it for long journeys across maps, and most of the time you couldn't do that because there were obstacles in the way, so you had to stop your sprint. It doesn't really come into effect in loops. So, I mean, this is good, but it's not what I would have hoped for in terms of an update. Cleaning up. At the same time, we've made some general improvements to the Hillbillies kit and smoothed out some of the rougher edges. The base chainsaw sprint and movement speed has been increased by 10%. So is that like he was given death engravings as base kit now, which is really good? Reduce the size of the chainsaw's collision detection to make chainsaw sprints more maneuverable. That is very good. I've played many matches where I thought I could make it through two objects, and it seems like when I try to go through them, I collide with the air. So hopefully that will solve those kind of problems. Camera sensitivity is no longer incorrectly tied to the controller sensitivity setting while using a mouse and keyboard. Chainsaw controls are now equal to 10% sensitivity. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good for Hilby. I'm just disappointed that two of the biggest changes he needed were the reduction of the chainsaw noise itself and the ability to hold your revving. I think those would have been, if they've done those as well, this would have been perfect for Hillbilly. Add-ons, we've done a pass on Hillbilly's add-ons. This blog post is long enough as it is, so keep an eye on the patch notes when the PTB goes live for more details. That should be maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see. It would be nice if they told us now. I really don't care if it's too long. I mean, come on, give us the details as they are now. But whatever. I'll make another video when they release that information. The Blight. They are changing the Blight. Don't really play Blight all that much, but we'll see what's going on here. So the Blighted Rat and Blighted Crow. These add-ons are fairly strong, making it far more difficult to get out of the way of his rush in time. We have reduced the rush speed bonus of these add-ons to 2% and 3%, so they cut them in half. Yeah. I think this pretty much destroys them, but as I said, I don't play Blight that much. I don't use these add-ons all that much either. We'll see what happens. Adrenaline Vial, I never used this add-on for the simple fact that it decreased rush turn rate by 55%. I'm bad enough turning during rushing. I don't need a further hindrance. There's a lot going on, making a jack of all trades. Bring it closer in line with other options. I hate that language they use, closer in line. What, to make killers overall weaker? Is that what you're saying? It no longer decreases the time to recharge a rush token by 1 second. No longer increases rush speed by 10%. These effects are unchanged. Increases maximum rush tokens by 2. Increases maximum rush look angle by 20 degrees, whatever that means. And that's the big thing for me. The last one decreases rush turn rate by 55%. That's why I don't use it. It's too punishing when you're trying to turn. At least for me. Alchemist Ring, yeah, this is the big one where you get your rush tokens back instantly after you hit survivors with a lethal rush. It was really kind of busted. Let's see what they will have done instead. So they reworked the add-on entirely, increases rush duration by 20% for each consecutive rush. So each rush you're able to pull off, you go further. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. It kind of... it'll make it so you can traverse pretty much the whole map, I guess, which is kind of useless. But I don't know. It did need an adjustment. I don't think it needed one this badly. I think maybe if it just restored like 2 rush tokens... I don't know. Compound 33, reducing the survivor's movement speed, acts very similarly. Okay, I only use Compound 33 to break pallets faster. I didn't use it to... I mean, it was nice. It provided a hindered effect to survivors when they were in the area when a rush was performed. But I didn't really use it for that. So apparently they took that away completely. Now it only has it where each consecutive rush, which is longer than 4 meters, increases turn rate by 33%. So you get better turn rate. It's okay. I mean, yeah, turning is good. But I really like that broke pallets with the initial rush. You didn't have to actually, hit the pallet during the rush. It would do it automatically. That's the only thing I used it for. I wish they hadn't taken that away. But whatever. Iridescent Blight Tag. Unless they're just saying this gives it a new effect plus the pallet breaking, which would be fine. They don't mention the pallet breaking at all, so maybe it's still in effect. Iridescent Blight Tag, this add-on can be extremely powerful. I have no idea what that add-on did. That promotes the awkward gameplay of repeatedly slam. Oh, the last rush would leave the survivor exposed. Okay, I see. Yeah, that was kind of... For me, it was pretty much almost impossible to get the survivor down on the last rush, so I didn't really use it all that much. Enables rush to be performed without spending tokens. Okay. Rush bonuses are capped after 3 consecutive tokens. Blade Corruption goes on cooldown for 20 seconds after a successful lethal rush attack. So if you use Blight Tag now, basically you just want to use it to traverse the map. You don't necessarily want to use it to hit survivors with a lethal rush, because as soon as you do, your power is gone for 20 seconds. And that's an extremely long time to be without a power. You're just an M1 killer at that point. So I would say this is a map traversal tool rather than a tool for actually hitting survivors with. I didn't see a whole lot of Blights use this anyway. I don't think it needed to change, but whatever. I don't see it being used all that much in the future. So, perk updates. Oh boy, here we go. Save the best for last because this perk needed a nerf so badly. This perk indirectly became stronger when the successful basic attack cooldown was reduced some time ago. Yeah, and that's a bad thing apparently. Certain killers can also circumvent the downside by using their special attack to injure the obsession. To tone it down, oh yes, it was just so overtuned. And make it more consistent across all killers, we have made the following changes. Each token grants a stackable 4% decreased successful basic attack cooldown was 5%, so they reduced it by 1%, which might not seem a lot, but when you reach maximum stacks, it can be quite a lot. Yeah, this is completely unnecessary. They did not need to do this. 2 tokens are lost, which is the same when the obsession loses a health state by any means. So it was basic attacks, now it's any means. So you can't use, say you go for a hell, say you use Deathslinger. When the obsession loses a health state. This is a big nerf to Deathslinger because as soon as you hit someone with the spear, they lose a health state. So say you're chasing the obsession. You have 8 stacks. You're chasing the obsession. You injure them with the spear. Not with an M1, but with the spear. As soon as they're hit, you're down to 6 tokens. And you can't actually... It doesn't matter if you break the spear or not to avoid hitting them. You've already lost 2 tokens. So killers like Deathslinger, Pig, there are a lot of other killers who have special attack. Demogorgon. This is a huge nerf to those killers. And these killers aren't even strong. This is going to really hurt killers like that. I mean, one of the best things you had going for you as Pig is using Save the Best for Last and then using the dash attack on your obsession. Because, honestly, Pig is just an M1 killer. Her dash sucks. Her traps are limited. They aren't really useful in a chase. Really Save the Best for Last made her a higher tier killer, but now even if you use the dash, you're still going to be punished. This does nothing for the higher tier. It doesn't affect the higher tier killers at all. But this is punishing the lower tier killers, clearly. This is not something they should be doing. The lower tier killers are weak enough, and now they're punishing them for no reason. This is a bad change. This is very bad. Save the Best for Last should not be touched. It's fine the way it is. They're listening to too many of these Survivor people, too many Survivor mains on Twitch. People like Otz who think Save the Best for Last is unhealthy. They're listening to too many of these people. It's just... how is making a lower tier M1 killer a little stronger in chase unhealthy? I would love to know. So this is a very bad change. This does not need to be touched. Grim Embrace. Yeah, crap perk. No one uses it. Grim Embrace blocks generators for a substantial duration. Not really. However, only activates once and requires the killer to hook every survivor once. It can be a little inconsistent and hard to activate. How about it can be a lot inconsistent and pointless to activate? How about that? Therefore, we're adding a secondary effect on top of the existing effect. So you still get the generators blocked for, 40 seconds when you hook all survivors? But they're adding this effect. First time each survivor is hooked, all generators are blocked for 12 seconds once the killer moves at least 16 meters from the hook. Okay, this isn't bad. Honestly, this is the way you incentivize hooks, but not in a perk form. This right here, first time each survivor is hooked, all generators are blocked for 12 seconds. Once a killer moves at least 16 meters from the hook, this should be base kit for all killers. This should not be tied to a perk. This is how you incentivize going for hooks, and it's how you incentivize, how you de-incentivize camping and de-incentivize tunneling. This is how you do it. It should be base. It shouldn't be a perk. If they want killers to tunnel less and camp less, this is how you do it, but it should be at base. I really like this idea. I wish it wasn't tied to a perk. But it would be interesting using it. But yeah, killers should be rewarded for hooking different survivors and for moving away from the hook. It's not rocket science, guys. You don't need to make things all about kills. This is a very healthy direction to take the game. If only they had made this base kit, a lot of killers would be doing this. They'd be moving away from the hook and hooking individual survivors. They wouldn't be tunneling. This one, sure, the killer is always able to get some value out of the perk. Yeah, it should be base. It shouldn't be tied to a perk. This is how you make the game healthier. You ensure that killers can go for multiple chases on multiple survivors and that they don't camp, they don't tunnel. This is a perfect solution to all the camping and tunneling that's going on. It's just unfortunate it's not made base kit. Quick Gambit. They should not be messing with this at all. None of these gen progression perks should be in the game if they're going to make the game about kills. If they're not going to incentivize hooking, these perks should not exist. This perk grants other survivors a repair speed boost when you're being chased nearby. However, its range is fairly low. So what? It shouldn't exist at all. Making it difficult to get close enough to other survivors while putting them in the game. We've increased the range to 36 meters. 36 meters and a gen gets done faster when one survivor's in chase. 36 meters is not nearby. It's rather far away. And okay, this is the complete opposite direction of where they should be taking the game. This is punishing killers for going for chases. You should not be punishing killers for going for chases. You should be incentivizing them to go for chases, like this perk here. Not this one. It's like two different mindsets. Whoever comes up with these perk reworks, it has to be two different people, either that or I don't know, like the person's one half of the brain's not talking to the other half, because it's like, oh, here we have this incentivizing chases, but then we'll have this punish chases. This doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, they've reduced the repair speed bonus, but still, it shouldn't be a thing. These perks should not be a thing. Generators go too fast already with toolboxes and others. gen progression perks. They should not be buffing this to 36 meters. It's punishing killers for chasing. Yeah. It's like banging your head against a wall with these guys. Hex Ruin. We toned this perk down in previous update. No, you destroyed this perk in previous update. Stop using this language. Okay? You destroyed it. It was useless. In retrospect, since the perk could already be disabled by being cleansed, the added activation condition did not feel necessary. Hex Ruin is no longer disabled once the survivor is killed or sacrificed. Good. But still, it's crap. It's a hex perk. Hex perks should be stronger than regular perks because hex perks can be cleansed. So put it back to at least 200%. I would put it at 400%. 1 to 1. That would make it extremely punishing, and survivors would have to do something other than sit on gens. Since it's a hex perk, they would have to actively look for it in order to get rid of it. Put it 400% regression. Keep this. Then maybe it's worth running. Right now, it's still a hex perk and still only 100%. It's like dry kicking a gen. It does nothing, basically. Shadowborn with the new fob slider. Yeah, Shadowborn is now obsolete. When blinded by any means, gain a 10% haste effect for 10 seconds. That's okay. That is a fairly strong haste boost, but I mean, with generators going as fast as they do, what perk would you replace with Shadowborn? I don't know. I mean, right now, on most of my killers, I run a pure gen defense build. It's not really practical to run anything else. So I'm not sure what you would replace with Shadowborn. It's okay. Monitor and abuse. Basically, they're saying monitor and abuse will no longer affect the FOV, but its current effects will remain unchanged. I would increase the terror radius reduction to 10% rather than 8%. Just give it a little more of a kick to it, but they're just leaving it the way it is. Ormond. They're reworking Ormond for some reason. Ormond is already a survivor-sided map, but there are many more maps that need reworks in this game. Garden of Joy that they said they reworked, but pretty much have kept it untouched. Desperately needs some more reworking. I don't know why they're going for Ormond now. Contains layout changes to the front and back of the lodge, as well as many miscellaneous loop adjustments. Front of the lodge currently has a long row of rocks stretching across it. Yeah, that I know what they're talking about. That long rock wall that really you can't do anything about as killer. This can get in the way and make it difficult to traverse the map. Additionally, there's no room in this portion of the map for any windows or pallets, essentially making it a big dead zone. Yeah, but survivors can just run the killer around that big wall for who knows how long. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a dead zone. You just run the killer around that wall. If they're an M1 killer, they can't do anything about it. We've given this portion of the map an overhaul to create more interesting gameplay. Yeah, sure. No. Translate more survivor-sided gameplay. That's a translation. The back of the lodge, meanwhile, is comprised of mostly picnic tables. Great for enjoying a meal in the freezing cold, but not very impactful when it comes to gameplay. But you could mind game them. Let me guess, they're adding more pallets back there, too, right? Pallet loops around these tables are fairly short, making them incredibly unsafe. No, translate. And this is the correct translation, Peanuts. Making them mind gameable and interactive, not incredibly unsafe. We have similarly adjusted this area to improve gameplay, so you've probably given them more god palettes in the area, right? Or more extremely safe palettes with no mind games. Am I right? They don't even show it. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it's not. I don't know. It's already a survivor-sided map. It doesn't need more palettes and more safe palettes. It doesn't need that. This guy needs... I don't know. He and that Elmo guy, they need to go. Game modifiers. While these will not be in the upcoming PTB, our first limited time modifier, Dead by Daylight Lights Out, will be available to play in the coming months. I have no idea what that is. Is that like an alternate game mode? I mean, I'm all for alternate game modes. Anything to get out of the generator hook meta that's going on. Just something where survivors are given another objective and killers are given another objective. Something more interesting. So we'll see. I'm not sure what this is. Might be a new game mode coming out. It wasn't a very long developer update. Calm down. They could put more here to inform us what's going on. And yeah, it'll be on the PTB on Tuesday. And most likely go on the live servers last week of January. Hopefully they get some meaningful feedback, not just survivors complaining all the time on the PTB. But we'll see. And that's pretty much it. This is my overall thoughts. This is bad. This is extremely bad. This should not be in the update at all. I've heard some other content creators talk about, most notably True Talent says it seems to be a fair trade-off. The problem is that you're forgetting that it's an ASIM, and any trade-off is not going to be fair because it's always going to be a 4v1. So what might seem like a fair trade-off where you get 5% versus being able to damage a generator only 8 times, it's still in the survivor's favor because there are 4 of them. 5% means nothing. So it's not much of a trade-off. It's really still in the survivor favor. If this was increased to 10, or I would say increase it to at least 15, then maybe. But as it is now, no. So this is still really bad. The FOV setting, that's good. I would love it to have base kit Shadowborn. That's perfectly all right. Onryo got nerfed very heavily. The only thing she's got going for her is the fact that the condensed stacks are can no longer be cleansed when a survivor's hooked. But now she's back to the way she was before her rework, which is a much weaker version. She can't spread condemned map wide. So I'm saying it's a huge nerf for Onryo. Still given no anti-loop abilities whatsoever. Nothing like being able to go through windows or pallets while demanifested. Billy, he got a buff. Billy seems pretty good, but I would still prefer that the 2 suggestions I made be implemented. But overall, Billy's looking a lot better now. We'll definitely give him a try. Blight got nerf. It's hard to say though how impactful these will be. I don't play Blight all that much. Yeah, Alchemist Ring was a problem, but I would have reduced the tokens regained to 2. I wouldn't have destroyed it completely. I don't know if this is good at all. Just have to wait and see, I suppose. The perk updates, save the best for last, got nerfed unnecessarily. It doesn't need these changes. This only hurts weaker killers. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't affect the stronger killers at all, but weaker killers are punished unnecessarily. Grim Embrace got an interesting buff. This should be base. It shouldn't be tied to a perk. Quick Gambit should not be in the game, but this should not be buffed. Thankfully, this was nerfed, but this should not be buffed. Ruin got a slight buff, but it's still not. I don't think it's worth running. Shadowborn sounds interesting, but the way that how fast gens go, I don't know what you would use, what you would replace the what perk you would replace to put this on. I don't see it being a meta perk, at least. Monitor unchanged except for the FOF. And Ormond getting an unnecessary rework, making it more survivor-sided, it seems. And that's it. So, once again, few good things, mostly bad. Not really surprised with this development team. But we'll see how things go in the coming months. And I will see everyone in the next video.